Good morning, everyone. You are very welcome to the Trinity Long Room Hub, Trinity's Arts and Humanities Research Institute. My name is Patrick Gagan. I'm the director of the Institute. Just to say, you are very welcome to this building for this very special and significant and important event. And it's a wonderful partnership between TAP, with the Hub here, with the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences, and a special welcome to our Dean and the Provost and members of the Oireachtas and to all of you, our wonderful guests. And just to say that, and also our colleagues in the School of Education, because what the Hub is about is, it's about championing the arts and humanities. It's about championing all of our various disciplines, from history to English to history of art, but it's also about making a contribution to society and the world and showing that we can help make the world a better place. So it's about engaging in discussions like this. It's about standing up for rights and for equality and for fairness and for trying to make a difference in our country and around the world. And that's why I think it's so important for me. My first job in Trinity was with TAP on the Access programme, and it's wonderful to welcome back Kathleen and Sarah. And it's something very close to my heart, because I think if we can't make the difference here, we can't make the bigger difference outside of here. And I think I'm so proud that we're able to do this. TAP will always have a home in the Trinity Long Room Hub. You are all very welcome here, and I'm now delighted to welcome our Provost and Nora to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. It's great, actually. I think the Long Room Hub is fantastic for facilitating all sorts of wonderful events. I'm delighted to see so many people from TAP, to see Senator McCarthy, to see other friends of us joining, colleagues, the Dean. It's brilliant to have you here. And hopefully we'll have an interesting chat. So actually, what I shouldn't say hopefully, I know from chatting to Nora already, we will have an interesting chat. Yeah, loads of pressure on you. So just before we start into the chat, maybe just if you could just, because I know a good few people here know you and some people don't, just so would you just give it just a brief description of what you studied here in Trinity to set the context?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm studying a Master's of Science in Social Policy and Practice. Yeah. And I completed my postgraduate diploma 24, 25, and I decided, you know what, I was on the train home and I had a kind of this light bulb moment and realised I'm not finished. On the phone, back to Trinity again, yes, and so the rest is history, but yeah, Master of Social Policy and Practice.
We love that feeling when people feel they're not finished with Trinity and they come back to us again. So hints to everyone in the room. So look, one of the things, Nora, that stands out from you is your complete passion for education. And maybe you might give us a bit of insights. Where did that come from?
I think I've always loved education. I see myself kind of as a lifelong learner, but as a child growing up, I didn't know that, you know what I mean, where my journey was going to take me. I always am on this educational journey. And I remember as my father was illiterate, and I remember as a child I'd read the paper for him and he'd say, "My Noreen is a scholar." And I was like, that always kind of resonated with me. Yeah. I'm like, I know, yeah. But now I come back, and he passed away in 2019.
He spotted something early.
He did. He's one of he was a tinsmith, so one of the oldest traditional traveller traditions. And I can say now, Pops, yeah, I am a scholar. Yeah. Thank you. So I think it started there early for me. And as soon as I could learn to read, I remember my older sister just started reading. I'd look at the book, and then once I learned to read, it's like I was blind, and all of a sudden I could see, and I was devoured as many books as I possibly could. So that journey started for me as soon as I learned to read, and it's been just roller coaster stuff for a few years. But here I am now as a mature student.
And what do you want to explain a little bit? So you didn't end up doing the Leaving Cert, and it kind of stopped. Do you want to explain a bit about that? Because I think it's it's really, really interesting about how there's kind of an automatic assumption Leaving Cert is needed to go on to university, and if you don't catch it at a particular time, it's hard to come back. So do you want to explain a bit?
I went to secondary school in the 80s, and I have to say it was one of the best 5 years of my life, and didn't have a great time in primary, but secondary was fantastic. I just loved it. I loved it so much. I was 18 when I left, and it was actually a traveller girl back in the 80s. That was old, you know what I mean? So they nearly had to force me out the door. But I didn't do my Leaving Cert because I knew that my journey wasn't going to be further education, even though at the time the nuns the nuns actually approached my mother and wanted me to go on, but that wasn't going to happen. And Tom got me then a year later. We got married in 87. I left school in 86, but I didn't do my Leaving Cert, but I did what's very much like a transition year now. So back in the day, it was a pilot called VPP course. Yeah. So I did that. So I knew I'd get a job. So being a traveller in the 80s, it wasn't easy to get a job, but I said to myself, kind of infiltrated. I went into work experience, was able to get a job there. But that was it. But it was like, even though I didn't do it, that didn't mean when I went back to education years later that there wasn't an opportunity for me to go back, So I didn't do the Leaving Cert, but that didn't stop me going to third level education. So we'll just say and to even to a lot of people out there might think, oh, you didn't do your Leaving Cert, I can't go. Yes, you can, and once there's opportunities and people out there to support you, you can do it, and I did it, and I'm living proof of that.
And what was that moment in time you said, I want to go back to third level?
Yeah. So as I said, I've always loved education. Our daughter grew up then, and then we always kind of wanted her to kind of complete her studies, but she had enough when she had finished Leaving Cert, and I was like, well, actually, I can't live my life through Lorena. I must do it myself. So my background is carers, so I wanted to be a special needs assistant. But once I went back into education, I started working with the Galway Traveller Movement, and I've always been an activist. I've always been doing advocacy work. I come from a big family, so I did a lot of advocacy for my older sisters and brothers, or my parents, and my relations. So I've always done that, but that was voluntary. So, but when I went into with the Galway Traveller Movement, and I realised, it's actually community work I want to do. And then instead of kind of staying on in childcare, I transferred into community work. And I'm with the Galway Traveller Movement. I started as community health worker, and now I'm one of the coordinators. So. And that's actually going to education upskilling has actually got me where I am today within my organisation as well.
Yeah, and maybe you were telling me yesterday that you used this, and some people here will be familiar with this kind of recognition of prior learning. So you didn't have to go back and do the Leaving Cert. You had gained this huge amount of skill over a number of years, and then you used that kind of as a springboard. Do you want to say a little bit? Because I know you had to fight for that as well.
I did. So once I finished, I wanted to be a special needs assistant. I didn't know where to go, and I went into the Galway Rural Development, and I was saying to one of the women in there, she's a community education worker, Marie, and I was like, I want to do something with my life, because I worked in a hotel for 20 years and I wanted to change that direction. And I remember she said to me, you can do anything you want to do. And I come out to Tom and I was like, I can do anything I want to do. I was like, I never even taught a third level here. I just want to do an SNA course. And that then changed. I was the director for me. I was like, okay. And then I reached out. She helped me reach out to Equal Ireland and to that's Eddie Anula, who set up Equal Ireland. They used to work in the University of Galway, and they set up Equal Ireland. Again, it's equal opportunities. And that was with Tosat Loan. So, and to get that then, you had to do the RPL, which is
the recognition of prior learning.
I kept calling it required.
I have to remind myself as well.
But I went in and Eddie kept going back to me, and he was like, do another draft, Nora, do another draft. And he said, you're an also woman, aren't you? I was like, am I? I didn't know it was also this and also that. But then he's like, well, actually, looking at this, Nora, I think maybe you do a level 6. And I was like, no, Eddie, I'm not doing level 6. I'm doing level 7. Because if you don't let me do level 7 with you, I'll find somewhere else to do it. I'm not going backwards. I'm going forwards. So I ended up doing actually all of my modules, getting the distinction in every single one of them. You know what I mean? So I said I had to prove myself. I felt like being a traveller and a traveller woman, I had to push myself that little bit further and make my standards higher. But it only benefited myself in the long run. So I did level 7 and level 8 with Equal Ireland. And someone said before to me, oh, it's only a diploma. Well, actually, it was it was a Bachelor of Arts degree. It's an ordinary degree. And only a diploma. Even don't. Everything is really good when you go into third level. So I got my level 7, level 8 there with Equal Ireland and Tosat Loan. And the day I graduated, I nearly cried going down the stairs. Thank God I didn't trip, but I nearly cried. I was like, wow. Here I am, and Tom was with me, and it was just a fantastic experience the first day.
I think there's nothing, you see it here on the graduations as well, the joy people feel in the achievement. And then what made us so lucky that you ended up here then?
Yeah, well, the educational journey wasn't over, so I did my level 8, and then after doing that, it was like, wow, I'm all educated out at this stage, but then it was like, I'm not finished. And I needed to get a course, but obviously I was working. I was looking after my grandchildren. My daughter was working, and just been like doing my stuff at home, and I couldn't find. I needed to do, and so social policy was what I was after. Right, I'm just very interested in policies, kind of political side. And Victor will tell you that. I've met Victor through Centre Dervine down there. It's going to Leinster House and invite him to one of the stakeholder events I did. But so I wanted to do something around that. But then I looked online and I found Trinity College was doing an online social policy and practice. Like that's the course I want. And it took a lot of courage to actually email, and I reached out to Kathleen, and it was the rest is history, you know what I mean? But it was like from the very beginning, that door was open to me.
And actually that school actually was very good at doing things online to make it accessible to people in different ways. So it's really interesting to hear that worked for you.
Couldn't do it. If I didn't do it online, I wouldn't be here today. So I just thanks very much to everybody in Trinity College. You don't realise how much you changed my life. And Tom's head is right, but he's been a fantastic support to me. I said to him, I'm locking myself away. Please don't come around me. Feed yourself. I need to get this assignment done, or, I have to get stuff in for Trinity. And he's been fantastic. Like, I mean, we come from a very traditional traveller, family, and him having this autonomy to do that, I have to give him credit for that, because I see a lot of women within the traveller community don't have that autonomy. It's like, you have your role, you keep it, you know what I mean?
And basically you said that to me when Tom wasn't in the room as well, so you're not just saying it because he's here. So it's
absolutely fantastic sport.
I was asking you yesterday, and I think you are very proud of acknowledging your traveller heritage, and I think that's really, really interesting. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Well, I can tell you I'm proud now, but for the time in my life I wasn't proud, and I mourn the loss of the fact that I never really valued my traveller heritage. My father, as I said, was a tinsmith. My mother was, she wore the beady pocket. They looked after us. They fed us like, my father was, his workshop was the side of the road, and but as a traveller child growing up, I would have been so much ashamed of my traveller heritage, ashamed of the fact that my family was tinsmith, because that's what it was kind of the norm for me. And I'm not going to talk about policies now, but what Trinity College is allowing me to do is allowing me to go back in time, to retrace my steps, to do my autoethnographic lived experience of my experience as a traveller student in the 70s and 80s, and it's fantastic to be able to do that. But it was actually going back to education that I realised I have a fantastic heritage. I'm so proud of it, and I come from a traditional tinsmith family. The first thing I do, no matter where I go, is I introduce myself as a proud traveller woman, or I can say it in my own cant language, I'm a proud Minker Bure, and even that, doing that has changed my whole life, the way I look at it, and in my daughter and everything like that, it has the same kind of principles as well, and it's just doing that now, and it took me a while, but it took going back into education for me to do that.
So that was the kind of pivotal moment of
everything I've done in third level education has been about travellers, and any time when level 8 whatever, and it's always been about travellers and traveller accommodation or health or this, that and the other. So I'm constantly, but I'm allowed, no, I won't say allowed, okay, I have the privilege of being able to talk about traveller culture and heritage within third level institution, and my level 8 was actually travellers students' experience in third level education, and that was very positive. I reached out to 127 travellers, and I can tell you that the reaction, the feedback was fantastic. It's a safe space. So third level education is a safe space, not just, I can only speak for the travel community. For me, it's a safe space, and it's a fantastic space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that is really, really great to hear, because I think, one of the things we want to make sure, and it's not always easy to kind of preserve those safe spaces so people can talk about anything they want to.
Yeah.
Do you, and I know we hadn't talked about this before, do you, and you were saying there, you don't get you going on policy, but do you think there is a possibility for you to take what you're learning and go beyond the safe space and actually impact the policy the way we need it?
I'm doing it already. I could be poking the bear all the time and constantly lobbying. So,
trying to give an example.
Well, part of my work, obviously, Traveller Homes Out campaign, I would have had a stakeholder event and roundtable on the 60th anniversary of the Commission on Itinerancy. So the Commission on Itinerancy report was to solve the problem of itinerancy. So what we did back in a couple of years ago, we had a roundtable. So I brought everybody that would have been back in 1963 who would actually did that report. I brought them all 6 years later into the room. I brought the policy makers, I brought the institutions, I brought the only one I actually didn't bring in the room was the clergy, but everyone else was there, you know what I mean? And what it was there was like, let's work together. I'm not here to challenge, I'm here to, and this is where I met Senator Boyne for the first time, and really, and we kind of, since that we've kept the connection going. So we brought Michael Collins to do the play of based kind of loosely based on the Carrick mines, where families were burned to death in very, very substandard accommodation. So what Senator Boyne says, you know what, let's bring this to Leinster House. So we went from there to Leinster House into the AV room, and we did that play. And I've been there before, and I've not too long ago I was up with the child and family policy, just talking about traveller accommodation, the homelessness. Travellers are overrepresented in the homeless services. How do you reduce that? We need to look at more culturally appropriate ways. We need to look at, and we were just talking about earlier, like a mobile health unit to bring to families in the homeless services. So I'm constantly doing that, and I did a report there because I worked with Genio funded a pilot funding, Genio SOS, as we call it SOS, which is Safe Accessible Traveller Accommodation. I work with traveller women and children in the homeless services. So what I did was built up a relationship with the services, with the homeless services, and, someone might not have a GP. Let's help you get a GP. Someone might have issues at school. We have our education department in Galway Traveller Movement. So building a collaboration with the services, that's what I did. So I did that report, and that report went to 200 service providers, the policy makers, the department on Taoiseach, everyone has that report. So they know who Nora Corcoran is at one Leinster House now, because I make sure they know. But I'm there to speak for those who don't have a voice. So that's what I do in my job.
Think that is amazing and very effective. And do you think things are better now?
No, Linda, they're not better. In fact, if you see the traveller community are still overrepresented homeless services, children are still leaving school early. There's a lot there say that travellers don't value education. Or you're going to get married, or you're going to do this. So, but that's not for everybody. That's for some. But we need to change. We need to change the system, the issues, the system. Those policies, that commission, we still see today in education. We still see today, I'm constantly fighting the local authorities in Galway City and County. I'm on the local travel accommodation consultative committee in the city and county, and someone said to me last night, Jesus, Nora, you must have done something really bad in your in another lifetime. And I was, no, I didn't do it. They did it because they have me, But saying that, I will challenge, but I will still say, well, geez, Nuala, you're going somewhere nice in your holidays. So it's building that reputation without being the enemy. Nobody needs to be the enemy, but we have to call out the systemic and institutional racism that's still there today, that's prevalent. Like, we can't even get that traveller culture and heritage bill passed. So anyone here today, we might just push it. So I would really appreciate that. We need to see travellers, children who can see themselves reflected in education. We have a community of children who do not know what a tent is, who do not know what a wagon is. But that doesn't mean that's traveller culture and heritage. What is traveller culture and heritage? It's a load of different things. But allow our children to see that. That should be their choice.
I think you're absolutely right, and I know for us as well here in Trinity, we've more to do as well, because you can see by the numbers that there are not enough people coming through. Not that, as I always say, not that everyone needs to choose third level education, but nobody who wants it.
I think the gap, Linda, the gap is not the third. It's a gap is second level. That gap, because when traveller children, not a child. My own daughter, by the time she got to Leaving Cert, she had cut down a lot of her she wanted to get, and she come back to me, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. I was like, Lorena, please. But I couldn't force her to do it. But I just felt that there wasn't much value for traveller students within the system. Because she can go, ma'am, if your parent is a doctor or someone's a guard, to get, this is what I was been told. Now, I went to that school back in the 80s, and I can tell you, the way that teachers nurtured my education was fantastic. You know what I mean? That was good. It was the whole system that was wrong, not the teachers, But I just feel that within second level, that's where it needs to be just. I remember had to do a speech one day in the University of Galway. Part of, it was actually the Council of Europe, and the Council of Europe know me as well, I can tell you, I know them too. So they came back, and I was just stood up and I said, look, you need to link in with second level. This is where the issue, Linda, is. Second level, that gap has to be there. It needs to be there like a scaffolding for students. If you want to go, if you don't want to go, you know what I mean? And the problem is sometimes the whole curriculum doesn't suit every child. So one size does not fit all, and it does not fit all for traveller children. You have children coming in that have parents who are illiterate, they might have dyslexia, they might have anxiety, and a lot of that is not kind of, I suppose, because the staff, the classes are very big as well, but there should be something there that can bring that child. Now, there is other ways, whether it's outreach, whether it's like, the ETBs, there is that. But to stay in education, to move to third level, it should be said to them, this is your life, and this is where you need to go. You can be there, and that's how I see it. So I know that gap, and I can see it from my own daughter, because I had a phone call at one stage where the teacher had said, oh, Lorena can go into computer class. And I was like, no, Lorena can't go into computer classes. She's a second year. Oh, but Miss Kilgallen said it. Well, I said, you may go back and tell Miss Kilgallen, who was one of my previous teachers, Lorena is not leaving. She wants to take her out of business, her best subject. Now, if anyone here is teenagers, they know that second year is the worst year ever, because they turn feral. I was like, and don't tell her. So I knew that it wasn't computer class, it was a resource class. So they automatically stereotyped my daughter because she was a traveller, but I wasn't having it. I was like, oh, you do your homework with her, the homework. I said, of course I do the homework with her, Miss Lynch. So anyway, I come back, I had a phone call next day, and they're like, oh, Miss Kilgallen said that's okay. I said, well, it wasn't for discussion anyway. She wasn't leaving. And Tom will tell you, when I did tell her after, she's like, oh, I want to go into computer class. I said, Lorena, it's not happening. But she went down then, we went down to tell her, and because it was feral, and Tom was like, Nora, talk to her, don't talk at her. Tell her that it's herself she's letting down if she doesn't do her subject. But she went on to get an A in business after that, because she realised the value of what she was. Yeah. But Daddy has to take credit for that. No, I can't take credit for that. But that was an experience that shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and it's great, I think, that you were there to be able to guide it. Can I just ask you? You mentioned, just because I know that I would love to sit here for many more hours on this, but you mentioned the woman who said to you, you can be anything, or you can do anything you want to do. Have there been other women that have been really influential in your life, given we will be celebrating International Women's Day in a few days' time?
There has been many women. I started with when my mother was my first teacher. She couldn't read and write, but she was my first teacher. She taught me many things. And travellers, what I would say, have a natural talent. She had a natural talent she passed down to me. And then, obviously, in secondary school, I had to say, teachers would collect me and bring me to school when I didn't have a lift. So, they would actually put themselves out. Wow. But then going into third level, and doing, say, I was doing my SNA, and I'm in Felicity. Felicity was dyslexic, and she was still doing her third level. And I was like, wow, maybe I can. She, again, showed us how to structure assignments at the time. And then, obviously, Marie, the tutors here, Kasia, Louise, everyone here, Bernadette, Kathleen, I couldn't do it. Even sitting here with you today, Linda. 5 years ago, I would never imagine this is happening. But that scaffolding built around me to allow me to sit here today is a privilege I will never forget. So, my grandsons will be hearing this for years. I was in Trinity College. But, you can't do this on your own. You have to have support. And I have to say, feminist lens, the women, we did it. But look at, again, Tom as well has been fantastic support, and everyone. But there has been, and Marie would say to me that day, but you can do anything you want. I was like, wow, I actually can do anything I want. It never occurred to me, and I think the problem is we don't know what we can do. It's someone just opens that door, just sets little things, say, you can do anything you want. It changed my life, changed Tom's life too, because he has now an academic, and you know what I mean, but he's proud of that. And
sure, an academic's great.
But I'm a traveller woman, I'm a middle-aged, I'm a grandmother, and I can sit here to say I'm an academic, and I'm so proud of that. And yes, Pops, I am a scholar, you know what I mean, just so proud of that.
You're very comfortable with your identity, you're the multiple facets of it. It's really, 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 really impressive to see.
Yeah, I'm. You know what is that? But what I'm doing as well. I've done poetry. I do a lot of poetry around my own, memories of a child, and even now that's how I'm valuing them now. I've kind of published in a book called Kin. So Kin is it's an anthology of poetry from Roma and traveller women from around the globe, and it was Rain Gagan who came to our Misleór Festival of Nomadic Cultures. If anyone's not familiar with that, the Galway Traveller Movement runs a unique festival every September in Galway with the University of Galway and with Antaviarc and with the Druid, where we bring travelling Roma artists from around the globe for 3 days to Galway. We call out race and discrimination, but we do it in a safe place. But we do creative. We do it through different, with our nomad only space, for songs, and it's just a fantastic space. And that's where I met Rain. And so she came back to me and asked me, Nora, would you like to contribute? So my book is the patron. So the patron would be when my father would be making the buckets and cans at the side of the road. My mother would go begging the houses, and I would go with her. I know, I'm probably embarrassed. But that's how we lived. Part of tradition. But anyway, so she would take up a twig and she put it down. I remember saying to her as a child, what are you doing? She says, that's a patron, so your daddy will find us. So that I put into a poem, you know what I mean? So the workshop like that, his was the grassy side was his workshop. But that was a memory, so memories that I have. Yeah. But I'm also I suppose part of my my dissertation being my ethnographic, and Kasia is my supervisor, and just delighted. She's been fantastic support to me, and kind of that'd be memories as well that I'll be kind of, and I do a reflective journal as well, so there will be little triggers and memories in there as well, because you have to have the good with the bad. But yes, I'm so proud of my ethnicity, and I just want to share it with everybody, whether it's in the pages of a book or whether my academic work, and I'm hoping to work with Little Island. Anyway, to a book, Traveller Children Culture, Traveller Heritage and Culture Children's Storybook. Whether that happens, I don't know, because at the minute we're living in very scary times. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we don't know. You know what I mean? At the minute, whether that works or not, we'll see. But I'm not going to give up, because I do believe traveller children are heroes too, and they need to see themselves in the reflection of a book. And what traveller culture and heritage is now, it's different to when I was a child. We live in different times, but we need to understand what young travellers see as traveller culture and heritage now. It's different. We have a lot of, like, my own daughter is married to a non-traveller, so my two grandchildren, they live in a dual world. We don't know how it's going to be for them. But if they want to express their identity, they should be allowed. If they don't, that's up to them. But I think a lot of young children are a lot more braver now than I was, because I would have hidden it. And someone would say to me, I didn't know you were a traveller. And I would say, thank you. It was only a colleague said to me, why did you say that? Yeah. And then it was like, why did I say that? Yeah. And that's another journey for me. I was like, wow, I didn't even realise I was doing that, because I was this liminal space. And I always see myself in this liminal space, and I talk about it in my work, where I felt I was like Venn diagram. I'm stuck in the middle. I'm not either one or the other. I don't know what I am. And that's my journey. That's how education has shaped me. But it's further education that's allowed me to say this. So yes, it's
and that's and in fact, actually, some of our students, I think, when I remember saying to me, I was saying to you the other day that one of them described themselves as a walking Venn diagram, which I thought was a really interesting thing, where you're dealing with different kind of backgrounds that are coming together. So it's complex, but you seem to be on top of it. With that, I mean, you're so completely accomplished in so many different things. What advice do you have for people who might be a little bit afraid to kind of plunge back into education? Or take kind of new things on.
Linda, I wish someone had said to me 20 years ago, Nora, you can do anything like this, because it never occurred to me. I didn't know that. And I said 20 years ago, I get angry at myself because I said 20 years ago, but then this is the path that was for me, and I'm doing it now. But for anyone, definitely, just send that email, you know what I mean? Yeah. Visit the Access Office, talk to someone who might be in third level education. Because it's once you open that door, it's like an Aladdin's cave of just so many opportunities. There is ways you can break down barriers. It's just having the courage to take that step. And if you know anybody who's in there, a couple of my colleagues have gone back to further education just by chatting to me. And that to me is, I'm delighted. So it is one's doing her master's and she's 56, and her daughter is actually doing her degree. She wants to be a teacher. It's just sitting down and listen, but sometimes it's spreading the word. You have to spread the word, because if someone had spread the word to me 20 years ago, again, I go back to 20 years ago, I would have my PhD finished now. So I'll still have 4 years ahead of me to do that.
I certainly think the PhD is definitely next. If anyone, there's too much fantastic information and ideas and creativity in that head. So with that, then, can I just say thank you so much for sharing? I think you've so much to say. We could be here for days, and we'd all be only delighted to be.
Thank you so much.
So it's actually, I always say, it's Trinity's gain that you chose to study here, and long may that continue. So thank you. So can I just say thank you to everyone. Thank you to the Long Room Hub. Thank you to Kathleen and all of the team in TAP. And I know the Dean, I think you're going to say some words, yes.
Yes, got a marvel. But where is it go all as the promised? I guess come on in Galore, go hard, I guess that dark tail is going, yeah. Tom, just a huge thanks very much for quite an extraordinary, it's inspired our you doing. Huge inspiration to us all. As I was listening to Nora, I remembered when we're of an age, maybe slightly older, but just the experiences of the traveller culture was a normal part of my day-to-day life. We were down the country and the farms, and the lads would come in and out and be doing jobs, and the women would be in and out, and the same when I moved to Cork. We had the same connection, actually, with part of our own people and culture. And we've lost a bit a bit of ground, put it mildly. And I think having advocates like yourself, and we have a number of colleagues here, Anne-Marie is here, and I don't know where Eileen is, but she's here somewhere. And they're taking up the challenge really that needs to be done and dusted, bring it forwards. So there's an awful lot in there, and I'm delighted to see who we have here today, because particularly has been mentioned, nothing happens without access. It just doesn't happen. And college took the decision so many years ago to support access programmes, and we're seeing the benefits now. So huge thanks. Our directors here, Wendy and Kathleen, of course, is known by all of us for this event, an extraordinary event. Ciara, and I see Ciara on this. It's quite a number of our colleagues here that are joining us. And also very important to notice, we have our Associate Vice Provost, as I call him, down here, Johanna Ivers and Michael Cleary, who are here from our civic engagement connection, because that's what this is all about. We're delighted to have our senators, and we had a great chat, and a huge support, in fairness, with Victor and Tom Cloonan and others are here. But I suppose the acknowledgement has already been given. I've discovered a namesake. And we were chatting outside, and O'Sullivan's always a good name. That's great. It's a good name. So just we cannot do things. You've mentioned so many people that were helpful to yourself, and you're giving back now. Like that was an enormous contribution, what you gave back there, to inspire the future generations, and badly needed for all of us.
We need allies, and allies need to get allies, because within our community there's such, everyone, we're being defined by, a tiny minority. We're criminals, we don't value education, we're this, we're that, but the statistics prove it, you know what I mean? We just need the chance within our own community to prove, and we need our children to get that education. Yeah. We need them to value education, but we need allies to support them, because we can't do it on our own.
And you're pointing to an issue that we see sociologically, where people, if they're cut off at the roots from their identity, it's very difficult to know who you are, how you're supposed to behave, and then you're influenced by social media in different negative ways, etc. So that connection back to your identity and your roots, whatever community you are from, is extremely important. So I definitely support. The Provost mentioned the PhD. And huge thanks to our colleagues in social work and social policy, and Kazia's here, and I saw Louise as well earlier. Because they're the people that will see you, they'll see you right in the future. So just Guramahaguv Galer, and a huge thanks to everyone for being here and for supporting this very important conversation, the first of many. Right, we'll let you all